such a pretty noise. Couldn't believe you didn't wake up with some different boy. Oh, I'm the last pick of all your draft picks, lining up my words so they're all cleverly crafted. You could see right through. She thinks that love's a sick little disease that attacks you, but I could fall deep in it every day if I had to. Oh, with you it's so easy to drop all the things I have to do. It's fine, never a waste of my time. I want to love where we stop going to church 'cause it's boring, and sleeping on those Sunday mornings. The sun will creep in through the blinds. We would hide underneath the sheets, trying to find a million ways to kill the time. But I really never know what you're thinking about, and I know that I'll never really figure out. All my experience ever does is confirm my doubts. Wasn't convinced that I'd ever really come around, 'cause it's funny how life goes, you know. Like there's just shit that I don't need anyone to know. Like this girl out there somewhere that I don't know. But I wonder all the time if she ever misses the snow. And all these thoughts I can't push out of my mind. Like these visions of 100 twisted ways I might die. The view from there was nice, action was kinda slow. Again, these are the things I don't need anyone to know.
Cool. Howdy, y'all. Alright, so I have music going. Let me know if it's too loud, like you can't hear me at all. Should be able to hear me. Oh, wait. Okay. Y'all should be able to hear me. Let me know if anything is too loud or too not loud. I did a few test stuff, so it should be fine if all the levels are where I have them before. Alright, so that should be good. Here. Yeah, so this is something that's kind of like new. I haven't really done a stream like this before. I'm basically going to just warm up on trombone and go through my kind of like my process of warming up, which is like really chill. And I'm gonna have some dope music playing in the background. All right, okay, camera. My camera keeps doing this thing where it just keeps freezing. Okay, that's new. Rip. All right, give me a second. Okay, my phone just disconnected. Alright, okay, I guess my camera's just not working now. Great, alright. That's really annoying. That is very annoying. Okay. Well, enjoy some music while I figure this out.
I'd rather keep your dog. Never been so insincere.
All right, we have camera again, which is dope. Hopefully that does not happen again. I don't know why I did that once earlier, right before starting the stream, and now it's not doing it. Okay. If your mic levels seem low, my simple suggestion is turn your volume up, because there's literally nothing I can do on my end. Everything's maxed out. Yeah. Dope. My computer is on the brink of death right now. So if y'all didn't hear, because you don't follow me on social medias, my what's it called? My hard drive is going bad. So yeah, it disconnected for 2 days and it would not connect for anything. Either that or the cable that connects the hard drive is going bad. But regardless, I need to take it in to get it, like, you know, fixed / looked at. So I'm doing that next week, and until then I'm just gonna record stuff, and if my computer does that again, then like whatever, I'll just take it in earlier. But I needed to get some content done. This is Two Tales of the Working Class by Los Cogaleros, which if you watched my 10 ska bands you should be supporting right now video, you would know that. So if you want to check out new ska bands that are dope, I highly suggest checking out that video, or just checking the playlist I link in the description of every video, because this is also on that playlist as well. So I am not lying when I already have everything backed up, so I'm not worried about that, like my computer crashing and losing content. But yeah, when I say the new ska bands are crushing it, I am not lying. They really are, and are all worth checking out. So yeah, all right, let me get started on this warming up thing. Dope. Let's get started on doing some warm-ups. So nothing's more exciting than long tones. So here we go. Whenever I start my warm-ups, the first thing I always start with is playing nice long tones, very low. I always start on the lowest partial, which is like low B flat, and I just hold out the notes. The main focus is to keep the note as steady as consistent. So if I'm playing, I don't want it to sound like this. Like that's not steady. You want it to sound like you're playing like an organ or like a cello. Yeah, so I'll go all the way down to low E, which is 7th position on trombone. And then I'll chill for a second, and then I'll do the same thing starting on F. And then I'll do the same thing starting on high B flat. Greetings from Miami, I'm new to your channel. Dig amazing music, glad to find this channel. Heck yeah, I'm from Broward County, so I've spent a lot of time in Miami and from South Florida. I'm warming up alongside you with my tuba. Heck yeah! This has turned into a brass warm-up party. Oh god. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna start on F now. Yeah. Triple octave flat scale. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, triple octave scale makes sense, but a flat scale, that what does that exactly mean? What mouthpiece to use? This is a Dennis Wick 4BS. I really like this mouthpiece. It's very deep. It's like really deep for a trombone mouthpiece. And this is my other. I have two mouthpieces that I use. The other mouthpiece I have is just a 6.5 AL. It's a Bach, Vincent Bach 6.5, which is very standard. Where is that mouthpiece? Okay, here's the mouthpiece. Yeah, so this is my other mouthpiece, Vincent Bach 6.5 AL. And the reason why I have two, one is because I own two. But actually I own like 7 or 8 mouthpieces, but those are the two I switch between. This one is a lot deeper, like the cup, which is this right here, it's much more deep, you know, it goes down further, which allows me to get like a warmer tone. This one, 6.5, is much more shallow. You can even see it with them if I put them next to each other. You see how, let me put my hand down a little bit. You can see how this one right here actually goes down further in length than this one right here. So when it's shallower, it allows less air to, I guess, to go through or whatever. It makes the air go through faster because there's less space for it. You know, it's like if you have a water hose and you stick your hand or your finger into the water hose and the water speeds up, it's kind of like the same effect, which gets you like a brighter tone. Versus the darker tone of this. I like having a darker tone. Oh, and it froze again. All right. This is gonna be a problem if this keeps happening. I'm really annoyed right now. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right. Dope. Yeah, I just have to like click the refresh. I'm just gonna keep this window open, and if that happens, just hit that refresh. Oh god. Okay. All right. I think there's something wrong with my phone camera. I might just switch to my computer's camera, which really sucks. I don't want to do that. But if this is going to keep happening, I'm gonna have no choice. Alright, so I'm just switching to my computer's camera. I don't feel like dealing with this right now. Wait. Oh yeah, no, that's not gonna work. Alright. Alright, this looks significantly worse, but it's going to have to do for right now. Dope. Alright. So y'all should be able to see me now. Damn, this really sucks, but whatever. Where was I? How does the rim feel on the Dennis Wick versus the Bach? I personally like the rim on the what's it called? The Dennis Wick a lot better, because it's gold plated. I mean, they're both gold plated, but this is like a cheaper coating of gold plating. Sorry, I'm like still looking at this camera. This is a cheaper coating of gold plating, so it doesn't hold moisture as well, and it doesn't feel as like soft. Like this feels like really soft. I really like that feeling. Triple octave B flat. Inexperienced brass players do the thing where they pick up their instrument for the first time in the day and they just try to wail out like a B flat that's like really high. And I have to record for like the next 8 hours, so I'm not gonna do that until I'm properly warmed up. So if you want to stick around the stream until I like properly warm up, then you'll hear me go that high. And higher. Actually, on this trombone, I can't even do 3 octaves. But if I get my other trombone, I can do a 3 octave scale. Yeah. All right. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. The Remington. That's what it's called, by the way, when you're going like. so forth and so forth. That's called a Remington exercise. I'm gonna wait for the next song. You record for 8 hours? Yeah. I mean, when I'm doing covers, do you think I just do that like in an hour? Like, no. Those covers take me like 2 days to record. So, depending on the cover, like obviously like a cover like, I don't know, All-Star, didn't take me 8 hours to record. But a cover like Megalovania, that took me 3 days of 10 hours each to record everything. So like, and about 15 of those hours were recording the brass. So. Alright, yeah, the next thing I'll do is that thing. After I do the Remington, I'll go into that, like, airflow exercise. I forgot exactly where it's originally from. It's something that I did in drum corps when I marched at Bluecoats. But I believe it's the Bill Adams. I think it's a Bill Adams, like, trumpet airflow routine, which definitely works on all brass. And I really believe in all of the Bill Adams stuff that I've looked up and learned. But yeah, the point of that exercise is to keep the air flowing. Obviously, when you change from that B flat to C, you're changing partials. That's a slur that's happening right there. And it also kind of allows you to work on phrasing as well. Any tips for vibrato on brass instruments? Yeah, so with the vibrato, what you're doing basically is you are opening and closing. Not opening and closing. Well, yeah, opening and closing your oral cavity, kind of. You're making it, like, wider and then shallower, and then you're doing that quickly. So what I would do is, I would just get a metronome, set it to, like, 60 or 120, whichever one you want, and for each second, I would try to open and close the oral cavity just, like, once. Like, I'm gonna use the tempo of this song as an example. So that's me opening it and closing it. I'm demonstrating that with my fingers. And then once you get it down once a second, you kind of start speeding it up. You can do it with any tempo or whatever. Doesn't have to be 60 or 120. I think that's just a good starting spot. And then you start speeding it up. You start adding 2. 9-3. And just keep working on that and speeding it up. Also listen to different like brass players and see what they like to do with their vibrato. I'm not a believer that vibrato should happen all the time. That's my personal experience when I play. I think if someone's playing, you should add vibrato onto like the longer notes. So if you're playing like a lick, I don't know, whatever the lick may be. I'll add the vibrato onto the longer notes versus like every note. Because when it's on every note, to me, it just sounds kind of corny. Yeah, I like to add it on to the end of longer notes. It kind of makes it more of a special thing, you know? It's like, I feel like anything that sounds good, if you overuse it, it just starts becoming annoying. So my goal is to never overuse things like that. But that's just a personal preference. Of course, there's a bunch of people out there who are very successful who add vibrato on literally everything. What's it called? My tone is actually pretty good. Yeah, I would hope so. I studied trombone in college and has classically studied the instrument for like 10 years, so I would hope my tone is pretty good. You into bands other than ska and punk, like anything from the 90s? Yeah, I mean, I'm playing a lot of stuff now, granted not a lot from the 90s. But my favorite genre, actually, and I could have sworn it was obvious by now, but my favorite genre is emo. I listen to so much emo music, like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, versus ska music, I listen to way more stuff in the vein of emo. And, like, indie, punk, indie pop, whatever you want to call this new wave of, like, stuff like The Beths and Illuminati Hotties and all those types of bands. That's probably, like, my favorite stuff that I'm digging right now, over the last year, really. So from the 90s, I don't really listen to much older music, honestly, because I think there's just so much great music that's coming out now, and I just gravitate towards all the stuff that's come out like in the last 10 years, especially in the vein of all the stuff that I really like. Not to say that I don't listen to any music from the 90s, like there's so many great records and bands to come out during that time period, but I really think we're living through a golden age, especially in like the DIY, emo, punk, ska world. We're living in such a golden age of music over the last 10 years. Like, I was going through a playlist that I found of emo bands from 2013, and I was like, wow, 2013 was so good, but comparing that to the emo bands now, it's like, that genre has never slowed down in the last 10 years. It's just been banger year after banger year of solid records. So, let's see. Do you like, I've never listened to Archers of Loaf. American football's cool. I'm not super crazy about them, but they're cool. I mean, like, every emo and their mother has listened to American football. Piebald is pretty dope, too. I think that record that they put out, you know, the one record that has, hey, you're part of it, on it is really dope. I think everyone can agree that record is at least pretty cool. I never got into their other stuff, though. So, alright, on to the next thing. So after that, I like to do, like, airflow stuff, and then I like to move into lip store stuff out of airflow stuff. So, what's it called? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the first airflow exercise that I like to do is an exercise that I learned from my euphonium teacher when I was marching at Blue Coats that really helped me get airflow down a lot better. I thought I had understood it well, but doing this exercise has helped me phrase longer phrases better without having everything sound like a football shape. Is I'll start on the B flat, F, B flat, B flat, B flat, exactly like that, no breaks in the sound until you get to the repeated B flats. So it's all slurred, the air stays continuous. course, the exercise, I like to reverse it. Once I get onto that low E, I reverse it. So I start E, and then I move my way up. Same thing, but inverted, you know? I feel like emo, check out Texas is the Reason and Inside, obscure band from. I feel like I've heard that name before, but I'm not entirely sure. Ever thought becoming a brass teacher a few decades down the road? I mean, I'm a brass teacher now. I work at a high school teaching both like private lessons as well as like the main brass instructor with the marching band. And I taught a year drum corps after I aged out, and I aged out in 2017. 2018, I was the main euphonium tech at the Pacific Crest Drum and Bugle Corps. And yeah, I mean, I still teach pretty regularly. So, top emo bands. Did I answer that question? Top emo bands? I don't even know. I feel like the answer is to just go on to Last FM and look at what I've played the most, because I feel like there's no other way. I listen to just so much and I love so much, and I don't really have like I don't like pick favorites as far as like bands and artists. I always hate those types of questions because I love different stuff for different reasons, and like some of my favorite bands that I would consider my favorite are not in my most played at all type stuff. My top played over the last year, my top played emo bands out of all of the top 25 are strictly emo, because like some of this is like that emo but also mixed with like that indie pop or indie rock type stuff. I'm just gonna mention those two. There's Bad Moves, which is dope, but they're just straight up more like indie rock than emo. Insignificant Other, homies from South Florida, also one of my best friends. Mixing a lot of emo stuff with like indie pop and indie rock. Origami Angel, one of the GOATs. Illuminati Hottie is one of the GOATs, but again, more in the emo vein, or indie vein than emo. Max Seal, oh my gosh, Max Seal is so dope. Just Friends. Emo Funk, funky emo. Pool Kids, also homies from South Florida, or just from Florida in general, not South Florida. Retirement Party, homies, dropping a dope record soon. Woolbright, which they're like, I don't even know, they're like a mix of so many things, but emo I would consider one of those things. Yeah, so I guess that goes as the answer as like my favorite emo bands right now, or in general. Do I listen to Weezer? Not really. I never really got that into Weezer. Like, I think they're cool. They have some bangers, but I don't know, I just never really got into them. Hell yeah, Just Friends is so dope. Ah, yes, fellow trombone players. The actual coolest, did I say Really From when I was listening off those bands? Really From is definitely one of my favorite bands just of all time. Really wonder if you're at Florida shows. I used to play, wait, you used to play in bands like No Need Cerveza or The Ears? Oh my gosh. Let's see if I can remember how to play this. South Florida people will remember that one. Cerveza was dope. I missed that band. That was a band that I really thought if there was a new band to come out of Florida, it would have been them. Whatever happened to Cerveza? Does anyone know? I remember they played like a reunion show like 4 years ago, and I was like, why is this reunion show really random? And I missed it. A group of the guys with Cerveza, and played a couple gigs with them. It was The Ears and The Ears. Do you speak any other languages? Watashi no Nihongo sukoshe hanasemasu. The camera's up here. I keep looking at my phone as the camera. Watashi no Nihongo sukoshe hanasemasu. But emphasis on the sukoshe part. Very, very little. When I marched drum corps, I marched with a bunch of people from Japan, and they taught me some Japanese. I was able to do small talk by the end of the summer, but that's the extent of me ever learning another language. Aside from like just knowing a few words in Spanish because I'm from Florida, or from South Florida, so. Is trombone a good instrument to learn exclusively for ska punk? I feel like as good as any other instrument. I guess it depends on if you want to play trombone in a ska punk band more than anything. The only advice I have to give is it is very hard to teach yourself a brass instrument. And that's not me trying to be like discouraging, but there's a difference between like teaching yourself guitar and teaching yourself like how to play trumpet or trombone, because like when you learn how to play guitar, you can look up a video, right? And you see someone press down like, you know, certain frets, whatever. They're like, this is how you play a chord. There's no doubt about it. You press the thing down, you strum it. If you're pressing it down and you strum it, it makes the chord. Like that's just a 100% given. There's no variables. But when it comes to like trombone, when you're asking how to make a sound, like how do you explain what's going on in here, you know? Like how do you explain what's going on in here? There's different brass pedagogies out there, and they're all phenomenal players who are all credible as heck. But people have different ideas of how air should be used. Some people believe air should come from the diaphragm. Some people believe you shouldn't ever have air come from the chest. Some people believe this is all important air. Some people believe the air should be wide. Some people believe the air should be narrow. Some people believe that blowing up makes you play higher. Some people believe speeding up how fast the air is coming out makes you play higher. There's a lot of variables to playing trombone and brass instruments in general. And people, if you don't have like a teacher or someone at least guide you to not make mistakes, you will develop you can and most likely will develop terrible habits, which could at best just like hinder your growth and make it harder for you to learn the instrument like longevity wise, and at worst you can actually do damage to your face, which will prevent you from even being able to play the instrument, which I've seen happen to like some of my students before. So that's the only grain of salt I have to advice I have to picking up a brass instrument. But at the same time, there are people who pick up these instruments and are phenomenal without any guidance. So I'm not saying that if you don't have guidance, you're not going to be successful. I'm just saying that that is a level of a challenge that you don't find with like learning guitar or bass. So just keep that in mind. Do you have a least favorite DCI show? I was an intern for the cadets when they did that danged summer Christmas show. That's so funny. I don't really have a least favorite DCI show because I think with arts in general, there's not necessarily like bad, you know, like I guess what I don't like in DCI shows is, and this is more of just like when I say this, like a lot of cores are guilty of this and I can't really pinpoint a certain show, but I hate when DCI shows do two things, or not hate, I just don't think it's tasteful when DCI shows do two things. One thing is put an Arbin's book on the field. I don't care about how fast this group can play a scale. I want to hear like melodic ideas develop, you know? I want a show that has a motif, and that's probably why I gravitated towards Bluecoats. Like one of the coolest things about the show Kinetic Noise that got me into the Bluecoats is, and I didn't even notice this until I was arranging the cover like years later, but on the first big hit, if you listen to the brass, they play the... It's in the mellophones. The mellophones play the ba-da-da-dwa, which is the theme from Woods, the ballad. And then they resolve that da, that sharp 4 to the 5. And it's just like such an impactful melodic moment. And not a lot of drum corps really like utilize motifs and developing melodic ideas like that. And I feel like Bluecoats has only gotten better at doing that over the years. Another example would be in Tilt. At the beginning, I think it's like either a trumpet or a mellophone solo, I can't exactly remember. But they play the Hymn of Axiom theme, but they play it like in minor, and that's like kind of like a foreshadowing to the ballad of the show. So that's like another really cool thing that happens. Another dope thing that Bluecoats does with motifs is like in Downside Up. It's literally all over the... Sorry, I messed that up. But that motif is all over. Even the trombone like feature is built off of that motif. If you listen to both trombones playing them back and forth, it's that same motif but in major. They're just playing every other note. So it's like cool little things like that, like melodic building. That's something I really like. The second thing I don't like is when shows have to kind of force feed you what is going on. You know, like having a voiceover to explain what's happening, which sometimes I'm not against voiceovers all the time, but a lot of the times I feel like they're just like, you know, the show's not readable. You need the voiceover to explain what is happening, and you can use voiceovers in ways that are adding to the effect of the show. Like if you take the voiceover out, the show still makes sense. But I feel like if you take the voiceover out and the show doesn't make sense, that's because the design is weak and you can't get what's going on without the voiceover. So that's my whole spiel on things I don't like in drum corps shows, or things that kind of turn me off in drum corps shows, which speaks more about what I really like in drum corps shows. And to every other person on this live feed who has no idea what drum corps is, I'm sorry. As I just went on a rant about this thing that no one knows about. Go check it out though, DCI, drum corps. It's a really dope activity, really cool thing. There's so much content you can watch about it too. What is the secret to playing high notes? It's the secret to playing literally anything on a brass instrument, air, consistent air, and focusing that air. Faster air typically makes the note play higher. And my belief on that is, again, I'm going to relate back to the water hose analogy because I teach music, and everyone who teaches music uses this goddamn water hose analogy. If you have a hose with water coming out and you stick your finger into the hose, the water speeds up. Same thing with your air. So the water behind your finger that's coming out of the faucet, that never really speeds up. I think the water should always be consistent coming out of the faucet, which in this case is from your diaphragm, from your lungs to the aperture being the hole in which your mouth has the air passing through into the instrument. So I believe that should always stay constant no matter what. What is speeding up is the air after it comes out of the aperture. How do you speed that up? Is you close that aperture, you make it tighter, which allows less air to go through at once. And since the back pressure is staying the same, in order to keep the air going through at a constant volume, the air just naturally will speed up. And so I think a lot of people struggle with high notes because they're not even putting enough back pressure to begin with, because they're squeezing really hard from the lips and they're pushing air from their mouth instead of their diaphragm, instead of from their, actual like body and all the organs and muscles that supply air. And that's when people have struggled with high notes. That and building up the muscle, because in order to, your lips have to handle that fast air coming out. So you need to do things like long tones and scales and build your way up and start building the muscles to handle that air. Speaking of building up, I'm going to start doing some slurs. So I like to do slurs after doing all the airflow stuff like that. I like to do a few slurs, and each slur I'll kind of add on and get higher and higher into the partial series, the range of the instrument. My lips are like not having it right now. I haven't really played all weekend. Oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. All right, I haven't played all weekend and all week. Much. I did play a lot on Monday, I believe, someday. But it wasn't really like productive playing. It was solely and strictly recording, so it doesn't count. Hi from Russia. I really like your. Oh, sorry. I just like full screened. Oh, geez. Okay. There we go. Hi from Russia. I really like your doo-wop covers. Do more of this. What is your favorite doo-wop band? I really don't have a favorite doo-wop band. That's not a genre like I listen to a bunch. Honestly, like it's just some stuff that I know because everyone like has heard doo-wop stuff before. I marched, interned, and loved ska, so it's on my wheelhouse. Where did you march? You probably know some people. I feel like everyone in drum corps knows each other. That's what I learned after marching 2 years of drum corps and then teaching a third year. I just saw a question that I meant to answer a long time ago because I got yeeted back to the top of the chat, or near the top of the chat. How did you get into ska? Well, Sleazy Steve, if you're still here, that's not the question I meant to answer. I just saw the other one, but the Digimon movie. I saw the Digimon movie when I was a kid and really liked that Less Than Jake song and that Mighty Mighty Boss Tone song that was on it. And yeah, what's it called? What year did you march Teal Sound? Oh my gosh, I have so many friends that march Teal Sound because I'm from South Florida, and everyone in Florida at that time was marching Teal Sound. So anyway, yeah, the Digimon movie. That's how I got into ska. When I was finding music in middle school, I downloaded that soundtrack because it honestly slaps. It still slaps to this day. The other question I got was, oh, I just forgot the other question. I don't feel like looking it up. Heck yeah, South Florida gang. 954, what's up? Jupiter. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm from Broward. So at this point, I'm pretty much in my warm-ups. I'm pretty warmed up doing all that lip stream or lip slur stuff. But I'm gonna keep going if I ever do have days where I have like more time to burn through warming up. I'll kind of go less about warming up and more into stuff that's like practicing technical skills, I guess, like articulation stuff. The point of the warm-up is to just get blood flowing to your face. It's, you know, it's like someone who like runs, you know, they're going to warm up. If they don't warm up, they're going to pull a muscle or something like that. It's the same idea when you're warming up on a brass instrument. If you don't warm up, you are going to damage your face. You're going to split your lip. You're going to do things that are not productive. So that's the point of warming up. Where do you live now? Which area of South Florida are you from? I'm from Broward County, from Pembroke Pines. Everyone I know from Teal Sound marched in like 12 and 13. So, but I think you might have marched with Joe. He's the caption head from I can't remember his last name, but he's the caption head from Heatwave now. I was supposed to teach a little bit with Heatwave this summer, but DCI is canceled. What's it called? Yes, I'm still in Florida. I'm in Gainesville now. Sorry, I got cut off by the question. I was a trombone player, youth player too, so I might have some overlap there. So Teal 12 was the year they folded mid-season. Oh, well then Teal 11. I thought 13 was the year they folded. So if you marched in 11, you might remember Ian, the violin player, and Dan, the electronic wind instrument player. Both of them, I went to high school with both of them. Also, you might remember a few other people. In 11, a lot of people from my high school had marched to Teal Sound. So yeah. Yeah, 12 was the year they folded. You're right. I remember now. I thought 13 was the year they folded, but I am mistaken. So, Etta, Nettie, or Hey Arnold? Ooh, that's rough. I feel like I'm gonna say Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold had a better character writing, honestly. Etta and Nettie was really dope though. I really love both of those shows. Ian is amazing. That dude could outdo the entire Hornline PT. Yeah, Ian got swole that summer. Also swole. Gosh, what a word from like a specific, I think, Florida word from like 10 years ago. I don't think I've ever heard swole out of Florida before. Oh, theme song? I'll still go with the Hey Arnold theme song. It slaps. I really love animation and cartoons. I could talk about that stuff all day. So if you bring it up, I am definitely going to just geek out about animation for the rest of time. Yeah, also, if you didn't know, I did a video with Ian. Ian and I did a cover of One Summer's Day from Spirited Away. So there's some drum corps cred. Also, other drum corps cred in my covers. The Ed, Ed Nettie cover I did. The tenor sax player Food actually marched Phantom Regiment in 2011, I want to say. Any other drum corps cred in my covers? No, I think that's it. I think it's just me, Food from Kill Lincoln, and then Ian. I think those are the only 3 people with drum corps cred in my, what's it called? Thing. Alright, I'm gonna switch to my other trombone to do some technical stuff. This is like my main trombone. That trombone over there that I was warming up on was given to me recently by a friend who was moving and needed to get rid of stuff and doesn't play trombone anymore, but also owned like 5 trombones. It's not the greatest horn in the world, but I like it. I kind of like how it feels. I've been feeling it out. It's smaller, so it allows me to like struggle less playing higher and stuff like that, which is dope. I don't have any other things to say about that trombone. This is my main trombone I got when I was like in school and stuff like that. So. So a thing I like to do on an instrument is I like to just take a random song, like this song that's playing right now, which by the way, this is the band I play in called We Are the Union. So if you're looking for some new ska or dope ska music and you have not yet listened to Self-Care, I don't know, 1, how you've avoided me saying listen to Self-Care for this long, but 2, also slept on such a great record that we worked on. But anyway, enough shameless self-plugging. Go check that out. I like to do like just articulation, just like 8th notes or 16th notes depending on the tempo, and just do it for like a minute straight. And I prefer to do it to music over a metronome because music's more mentally engaging. I can focus on a lot better if I'm listening to a song than I am listening to like a metronome.
I got lost. I think I skipped a partial. I'm gonna start this over on the next song. I messed all that up. How did I dent the bell? That's an interesting story. Not that interesting. I was at We Are the Union had opened for the Bruce Lee band 2 years ago, and I was getting off stage, and one of the stage techs ran by me and like shoved me out of the way because I guess it was important for him to like get a cable unplugged or something, and he shoved me into a speaker, and my bell went into the speaker like this, and there was a dent that was literally like up this high and out like that, and I was able to like grab it and just like bend it back into shape close enough where it's like kind of right, but yeah, it's still there. One day when I have the money and care enough, I'm gonna get it fixed, but that's probably gonna be never, because yeah. Do you have any favorite 70s or 80s UK ska bands? I mean, not really. Like Specials. Specials is a band of that era that I listen to the most. I feel like with like Two Tone, it's like a sound that like I get the craving to listen to, and then I listen to it for like a few hours, and then I'm like, all right, I'm satisfied for like the next month. Like, it's not really a sound that I like revisit personally. It's definitely like dope and really important, but like, I don't know, it's just like not something I do. No, I did not learn trombone by myself. I played this in high school. I played it in college. I took lessons in college. I also marched drum corps, which added a lot to my like musical growth as a both trombone player and a brass player in general. So no, I did not learn it by myself. That's way too fast of a tempo for me to do that octave stuff on. Yeah, that's something I like to try to do at least once a day. Even doing it once helps a lot, makes articulation a lot faster. Or at least it's helped me articulate faster. It's been so long, I haven't been in Florida in 7 years. Bring up all the good nostalgia. Heck yeah. New horn. So I'm just reading older comments. New horn. I don't know if you're referring to this horn or the horn I was playing. The horn I was playing before actually is a new horn. This horn I've had since I graduated high school, so 2013. It's a Dennis Wick 4BS. That's the mouthpiece I am on. Oh god. Mighty Mighty Boss Tones got me into ska. Toasters made me stay. What got you into ska? I said this actually not that long ago on the stream. It was the Digimon movie. I remember being just a small child and seeing the Digimon movie, and both the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and Less Than Jake were on that movie. It was the impression that I get, and all my best friends are metalheads. And I remember being in middle school, like, okay, I kind of want to start listening to my own music. What type of music do I like? At the time, I was listening to a lot of like jazz because I grew up like, you know, my parents playing jazz and like funk and soul, R&B, whatever, blah 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 blah. But aside from that, I was listening to a little bit of hip hop too, just something I'm into. I was into as well, and then I looked up the Digimon movie, and I really liked all of that as well, but specifically Less Than Jake and the Boss Tones. And I later found out because I accidentally downloaded a Real Big Fish song off of LimeWire. It said it was Good Thing by Less Than Jake, but it was Real Big Fish, and I was like, oh, this is a genre, dope. And then I dove deep into the genre pretty much after that, and I listened to it a lot in high school, pretty much all the stuff you'd expect, but then also a lot of like stuff I don't know how I found when I was in high school. Like I used to just deep dive trying to find as much ska as possible, and I found lots of bands that to this day are still pretty obscure. And stuff like that, like even me like playing like shows and traveling and being in so many scenes, I still know people that like don't know these bands. But yeah, and then I kind of fell off the genre for a while. I didn't really like listen to ska or care much for it, aside from a few bands for like a hot minute. And then like honestly, like bands like We're the Union was like my favorite band at the time too, like in like later high school all the way up until like when I joined. And We're the Union was kind of the thing that kept me into ska, if I'm gonna be honest. Fell off a lot of other bands, and then I started finding bands like The Best of the Worst and Kill Lincoln, and hearing all of these new bands really ignited my like drive to like want to make ska music and want to like be in a ska band again. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I stayed into it. I figured I might as well say that much. Are you excited for the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remake? I never really played the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I also don't have an Xbox, and I'm not getting an Xbox, so I'm very neutral and apathetic towards the remake. I'm excited for other people that are excited for it, though. intervals. So if you go up 4 notes in a scale, like B flat for an example, that's the first note. Second. So the fourth of the scale would be E flat. So the interval between B flat and E flat is a fourth. Which, by the way, I did a punk rock music theory video explaining intervals. So you can also check that out if you want to know more about intervals and you don't know anything about that. But yeah, I'm just gonna practice because I practice thirds so much. I feel like that's a thing that needed to be worked on when I was younger. Like. But I'm really slow when it comes to other intervals. I can kind of do fifths all right. Sixths I can kind of do a little better than fourths, but fourths are really awkward, and it's because they sound awkward. There's not really a sense of resolution in a fourth. A fourth isn't really dissonant nor consonant, so I think that's why the ear just can't pick up the pattern well because of that. So honestly, there's like a lot of videos out there on how to read sheet music. And the video that I talk about intervals, I don't even think I really bring up sheet music. And I think when I do bring it up, it's like not even like it's for those who can read it, but you don't need to know how to read sheet music to understand what I'm saying, type thing. You don't need to really understand sheet music in order to understand what I'm talking about in that video. And there's already a lot of other stuff out there talking about like reading sheet music, so I don't really see a point of making a punk rock music theory on that. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff talking about intervals too, but I feel like no one has ever really made the comparison of how intervals are being used in punk rock, which is why I went alongside that. What would you say is the trombone hard to learn? Once this feed is done, I really don't feel like explaining that again. Once this feed is done, I would go back and watch that. I talked about that about 30 minutes ago, about my take on learning trombone or teaching yourself trombone. It's just a lot, and I don't feel like talking about it again, honestly. Are you excited for SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated? I never play. I don't know if that's like a remake or not. Because I remember Battle for Bikini Bottom, but I never played it. Honestly, I don't really get hype on remakes in general. I am 100% for making original content and pushing people making original content. I think that's pretty obvious for anyone who follows me and notices how much I push new ska bands. But it goes beyond just ska bands. Like, I think nostalgia culture in general is like a very kind of dangerous and can be also a very like toxic thing. People really love to obsess over the past. And like, it's fine to be nostalgic. It's fine to like, you know, like I was on Tumblr the other day going through my Tumblr from 2013 just being like, I remember reblogging this, the good old days. Like, I feel like that's like one thing, but people like really get hyper fixated on the past to the point where they can't enjoy the present or new things being created. And I think that's very toxic for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons I don't want to go into, but one of the biggest ones is it hurts people like me. It hurts creatives. It hurts artists because, you know, Disney won't invest their unlimited resources into making original movies the way they invest into like Marvel, because they know Marvel will sell tickets. They know that the incredibly terrible live action remakes of these movies will sell tickets. And I'm not even like saying they're incredibly terrible because you know, like, oh, I hate remakes, blah 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 blah, but like objectively speaking, the writing is bad, they're dry, the music fails to do the delivery. And check out the YouTube channel Sideways. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and link this video, which this person spent 40 minutes breaking down why the remakes are terrible and why the music in them is the worst part of those remakes. And he also does talk about the Star Wars remakes, and he explains why music has ruined the Star Wars remakes the most. Like, it's the most telling thing of those remakes being ruined. So I'm gonna go ahead and link that into the chat if that's something you want to check out. But no, it's like the remakes, they're not good. They're just objectively not good. And people who are really into them, honestly, are just riding off nostalgia. And people obsess over it. And it hurts, anyway, it hurts creatives. It hurts people that make art. You know, it's like, we can invest so much money into new bands, into new movies, into new TV shows. But these networks are getting to the point where they're like, well, remakes are selling, so like let's just put all our money into that. It's getting to the point where like cable is struggling, so TV channels are resulting into rebooting like things like the Powerpuff Girls, because like, you know, like ratings are going down and like streaming is hurting us. So like, why would we invest in something new when we can just reboot old shit, you know? And like, that's what people are putting their money towards. And like, overall, I just think it's very toxic. I think it's a consumeristic America trying to capitalize off of a time in which people didn't have responsibility, and they don't associate, you know, they don't, like, people don't associate like 90s Nicktoons with responsibility. They don't associate it with adulthood. It's escapism. So these networks know that, and people obsess. I think that's the same reason why people obsess over like older ska bands so much and never want to move on to anything like newer. It's not necessarily that they would hate anything that's newer. It's just that they're seeking escapism, and when they listen to new ska expecting to seek that escapism that they can't, because their first impression of a band like We Are the Union, of a band like Kill Lincoln, of a band like Matamoska, when they hear these bands, their first impression is tying it in to a point when we're all in quarantine, where this country's shitty behavior is more in your face than it was not in your face 20 years ago, you know? It takes a point where you're more aware of things, and I really think that's like really telling of that. But it's just not ska. Like, I say it a lot in ska because that's something I'm involved in, but I think that's something that just happens everywhere, and the nostalgia culture and fixation on old things is really, really, really hurting people, and I am 100% not for it. That being said, I'm not against every reboot. Like, I've been watching the new DuckTales reboot, and that's incredible, but it's incredible because they got good writers, first off. Two, they did something different with the show. Like, yeah, it's all based off the original DuckTales, but they did something different. They're telling a new story. They're not like retelling the old story. And if they rebooted these movies so much with the attention to expand on the world, then I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be better. And if they didn't do it with every property they possibly could, then it would be better. But not many reboots follow the tale that DuckTales is doing right now with their reboot. You know, their reboot is putting really great character writing. Their reboot is building on the character that was not built on in the original series, because let's be real, no one cared about character development in any animated shows before the 2000s. That just wasn't a thing you focused on. And if you did, you were ahead of your time and didn't get the recognition you deserved, like Hey Arnold or Rugrats did. But yeah, so that's my spiel on that. Jazz at the Lincoln Center. What is that, like a band? Jazz at the Lincoln Center? I've never heard. I gotta go record a drum major audition, but I'll be back. Good luck! Join at the perfect time. Heck yeah, you're right. The same thing goes for established bands putting out music that sounds different. Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, it definitely goes for that. I think when established bands put out music that sounds different, I feel like it goes one of two ways. And I tweeted this the other day because this is such a funny story. I was on Facebook just chilling, and I saw a video of Hayley Williams playing guitar and singing one of her new songs. And video was great. Hayley Williams isn't even a guitar player, and she was playing better than I could play guitar, and singing better than I could sing. And then I was looking at the comments, and it's all of these dudes just like being like, "This sucks." Like, and one person commented, "Don't quit your day job." And I'm like, I don't know who you think you are telling Hayley Williams not to quit her day job. But her day job is literally writing music, so you're trying to insult her, but you're just telling her to keep doing what she's doing because her day job is literally writing music. So, and like performing and being an artist. Big L for that guy. But other than that, it was a lot of comments of like people saying like Paramore's old stuff was better. And I'm like, honestly, I would disagree. I think Paramore, every release they've put out has gotten better over time as far as like songwriting, as far as sounding genuine and stuff like that. I think like all the music has always sound genuine. So the point I'm making with all this is bands go one of two ways. They go the way of Paramore or My Chemical Romance. You know, the bands that stay relevant, because I teach high schoolers and they all still listen to Paramore and My Chemical Romance, despite the fact those bands, like My Chemical Romance especially, has not done anything for the last 10 years up until this year. So like, or maybe 8 years. I don't know when they broke up, but like a long time for like these kids to be in elementary school when these bands broke up to still be listening to them. I think that's like saying a lot. Like kids now aren't listening to Less Than Jake. Kids now aren't listening to Real Big Fish. Kids now aren't even listening to Blink 182. My students know Blink 182, but they don't listen to them. Not the way they listen to Paramore or My Chemical Romance. But yeah, so I think it goes one of two ways. You be the Paramores, you be the My Chemical Romance, the bands that just genuinely grow and change their sound because that's genuinely what they want to do, and they're genuine good people and they're incredible musicians, so no matter what they do, they will have that genuine fan base. Or you have the bands that change their sound because they think that they need to appeal to what's popular at the time, and that's where you get like Less Than Jake's In With The Out Crowd. That's when you get Blink 182's later stuff. That's when you get all of these records that they just sound for. That's when you get like Real Big Fish's later records. Like Real Big Fish's later records sound like that they tried doing something different. Their fans hated it, so now they're trying to do what they did 20 years ago, but like they're just missing the mark. That's what it sounds like to me. And when bands do that, instead of just being genuine and writing what they want and doing like, you know, just being genuine, I think that's what happens when bands change their sound and then people aren't on board. And that boils down to the fact that artists shouldn't have to cater to their fans to try to achieve a sound. They should just do the sound they want. And if they do a new sound and all of their fans fall off, that's fine. Like, but you'll gain new fans because you're doing your genuine new sound. And I think that's just a what's it called, regular thing. Yeah, I would argue Green Day is kind of that same way. I don't know. I feel like Green Day gets a lot more hate than I think they deserve. I think it's a mix of both. I have not listened to the last record, so I can't say much of that, nor have I listened to a lot of Green Day, but I have heard Green Day songs sprinkled from each record leading up to like 2011 or 12, and I guess I don't have a bias because I didn't listen to Green Day until I was 21. I listened to Basket Case, but other than like Basket Case and like the few other hit singles, I literally had not heard Green Day until I was 21. So that being said, I guess I just don't have a nostalgic bias, but I think all of their sounds and records hit hard. They're all definitely different flavors, and I think that certain ones appeal to me separately, but like objectively speaking and as a musician, I can appreciate everything that they've done. So maybe that's just my take. Joseph, I'm gonna be honest, Candy Coated Fury was the record that made me stop listening to Real Big Fish. That record to me just sounded like it was the beginning, not the beginning, but one of the records that really solidified the idea that I think Real Big Fish was trying really, really hard to appeal to the same 90s sound that they were known for. Because, I don't know, how can you put out Cheer Up? Like, Cheer Up was such a phenomenal record. You know, that came out like 12 years before that, or 10 years before that. Cheer Up to me was such a phenomenal record. Like Drunk Again, banger. Like the record had everything. It was like had bangers like Drunk Again. It had like Good Thing, phenomenal opening track. It had a theme that was like very Real Big Fish-esque, but it was also very realistic. It didn't seem like a huge joke all the way through. Granted, there are some songs that didn't age well, but it's definitely a capsule, and I think it was the peak of Real Big Fish's songwriting and just being a band in general, because everything after that, I never could get into any of the records after Cheer Up. The first record I heard was Cheer Up, and then I heard Turn the Radio Off, and then Why Do They Rock So Hard. I think those are three very solid records, and I believe Why Do They Rock So Hard had a handful of songs that didn't age well. Almost all of Turn the Radio Off didn't age well. Cheer Up, for the most part, aged alright. I'm not going to say well, but I'm not going to say terrible. And then everything after that, I never really got that into. And then Candy Coated Fury, Don't Stop Skankin' was fun, but that's because like I'm a brass player. I like hearing instrumentals. But everything else on the record, I just could never get into. The songs that had like hooks, I don't know. I just don't want to listen to music that's saying nothing but I hate you and fuck you like all the time. I just could never get into that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to say about that record or anything. No one really wants their favorite band to evolve. Yep, that's so true, but artists don't make art for their fans. Artists make arts because they want to make art. So I say let all of the bands evolve. Yo, Cheer Up. I cannot listen to that record and not think of high school. That is just 100% a fact. Streetlight Manifesto was my first introduction to ska. Mine as well. One of my first introductions. Like my third or fourth introduction. That was the third ska band or fourth ska band I had ever heard. For sure. Alright. Okay, there we go. Key of D flat, and we're doing fourths. Ah. There it is. All right. Yeah, is that the interval? I'm lost. I am lost with these intervals. All right. Oh gosh. Let's try this one again. There it is. All right. Cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is why I need to work more on fourths. How did you end up playing on stage with Pup? Also, how was it when you were up there? When I was up there, it was dope. Pup's really dope people. How did I end up on stage with them? I did the cover of Free at Last, which was for a contest. I didn't even know it was a thing until I was picked as a winner. Yeah, they challenged their fans to write Free at Last. They just put out the lyrics and the chords, and they're like, submit your videos. And then that's what I did. I submitted a video. Well, not submitted. I just did the cover. Someone sent it, or they saw it. I don't know how they saw it. I guess someone sent it to them. And they loved it. They emailed me asking for my address so they could ship me like the certificate, whatever, which is on the wall in the background of all my videos. And yeah, they were like, do you want to play on stage with us at any of our upcoming shows? And I was like, where are you playing? And they're like, Atlanta. And I'm like, sure. And then I drove to Atlanta to see them and play with them. And oh yeah, Rat Boys was on that show. That was the first time I saw, or the second time I saw Rat Boys. Rat Boys is a dope band. Y'all should check them out if you haven't. And then the second time I played with them was in Orlando, on another tour. So. Oh gosh, think of it as a competition. Okay, hold on. Let me read these comments in order. Hey Ska, I'm gonna check out the full stream. Check out the warm-up routine, but I'm a French horn player and a trumpet player, and not a trombone player. But do you think I could still play them anyway? Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is applies to all brass in general. So that's definitely this is definitely applicable to other brass instruments. Actually, most of my warm-up technique is based off of Bill Adams, which is a trumpet player. His brass pedagogy. So this reggae band I know changes their sound every album. Yeah, changing your sound, it's important. Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's naturally what they want to do, like would they be helpful? Oh, that's the same response to that other one. What are some of the saddest ska songs everyone can think of? Think of it as a competition. Saddest ska song I can think of. Oh, that's a good question. All right. I think of Self Care, which is the record that We're the Union put out last year, as a pretty dark record. Not like super dark, because it has like, you know, the theme of it is self care. But Reed does talk a lot about like things like dissociating and depression. Like Surfing on the Waves of Depression is a pretty heartbreaking song. And so is Post Ironic Sinkhole. What other ska songs are pretty sad? There's a few songs off of Grey Matter's record, Climbing Out, that are like, I want to say sad, but are like dark for sure, darker. I feel like they'd be contenders. I'm just going through a ska playlist, my ska playlist to see. I can't think of any like super sad ska songs at the moment. I can't think of like, I don't know. I feel like all the ska songs I listen to are like very neutral. Like they're not like overly happy. Nor are they. Royal Oil by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. That song is about addiction, and I don't think a lot of people know that. And I feel like with context of what the lyrics are about, that song is super sad. Like really depressing. I think it's like also like really relatable if you ever have known someone who has gone through that or struggles with that, or if you struggle with that. So that's another. Pick it up, we're driving through the wasteland. Can't Give You Love by Catbite. It's kind of a sad song. It's kind of like someone loving somebody and then they're just like, I wish I could love you back. That's like the vibe I get from that song, which that always is sad. Two Tales of the Working Class by Los Gogaletos. I was playing earlier on the stream. That's definitely a sad one. It is for me. I mean, it definitely is just a song about exactly what it says. It's about like the working class and their like struggles, more so. And if anything is sad, it's definitely about how people are struggling when they really don't have to be. All right, those are my contenders. For sad songs. Sean's pop in and say that your covers are my new favorite thing. Heck yeah! Thanks for watching. Greetings from a tuba player. Hello. Do you know any bands that have a sound like Just Friends rock to the rhythm? I like their newer stuff, but it's nothing like their freshman album. I honestly don't know any bands that just sound like Just Friends in general. They're definitely doing a thing that's like, that's pretty unique. You can always check. I feel like the closest you will come, which is not super close, but is to all of like the related artists. Like if you go to like fans also like, you have like Graduating Life, like stuff like that. Like who's all in that like camp of Just Friends, like Friends, I guess. Just Friends is Friends. Yeah, like older or new. I don't know anyone who's doing their sound. So. Alright, more interval stuff. I'm gonna do D flat again. That was a lot easier the second time through. I like practicing. shaky, but for the most part, got it down. Hitting that high D flat without blaring is not easy. I mean the D flat I hit there because I guess that is a high D flat. I don't know. D flat's kind of a weird one because the D flat above that is like, what's it called? Because I went up to an A flat. The highest note I hit on A was an A flat during when I was on the D flat. And the D flat above that, that's like where my range caps out consistently. Like that's kind of where my range ends. I can't really like play anything above that consistently. I used to have, when I was marching drum corps and I was working a lot on range, I used to be able to go up consistently to the G above that. So like high G, double G, whatever you want to call it. So that's C. So that's D. That's F. Yeah, that's about as high as it can go before it just starts becoming squeaking. But I used to be able to do that consistently, and probably the only reason I was able to do that now is because I did like the longest warm-up I've done like in such a long time. What would be an example of a really approachable song, ska song for the mainstream ear? I'm trying to get my girlfriend to not hate ska. So honestly, it depends on what type of music your girlfriend likes. I feel like ska is such an expansive genre, where there's just so much ground that can't be covered as far as like what people can hear. I'm gonna link this playlist I made for my friend who had never really had an impression on ska. She plays in a band called Tancred, which is like really cool because like I love that band so much. And that playlist was a mix of like old stuff and new stuff. And ska songs, I think that if the average person who's never had an impression on ska, if they listen to this playlist, it'd probably be the thing that would get them to be more on the side of I like ska than on the side of I don't. And this is coming from me being super involved in other music scenes and outside of ska. And I feel like this is something that ska people don't often see. A lot of people hate ska mostly because of the like, I don't know how else to explain it, but the really cringy 90s dude bro culture that is associated with a lot of bands. Like, a great example is like Rubik Fish's She Has a Girlfriend Now. Go-to example. That song is like a staple in third wave ska, but like when you realistically look at it, it's kind of really cringy. And a lot of people tell me specifically that's the song that they hear in sight whenever they say they hate ska, and why is that song. But it's just, I don't know, it's just a cringy song. Like I cringe whenever I hear it. It's a song that kind of just like pokes fun at being gay. Like it makes being gay into a topic of comedy. And it has some cringy lyrics. Like I don't want to go over it. Just listen to the song. It's pretty cringy. But other than that, there's some other prime examples out there. cringy bands, and like that whole culture. Like the best way I can describe it is Basketball, which is a movie that Rubik Fish is very well known from being a part in. If you ever watched the trailer for that movie in 2020, holding up terribly is an understatement for it. There's like one scene where it's the two sportscasters and they're talking, and there's the cheerleaders who are cheering, and then one sportscaster goes, "Can't believe a year ago this, or not even a year ago, this sport wasn't even a real sport. It was just being played in these people's driveway." And then the other sportscaster looks at the cheerleaders, and then he says, "I can't believe almost a year ago, none of those cheerleaders were even legal yet." Which, like, is such a really weird, disgusting, pedophilic, like, joke to make, to sexualize minors like that. And that the people who found that funny is a lot of Real Big Fish fans. So when a lot of people think of ska, they really relate. They think of that as what ska is and what Real Big, like that. And that's not even all Real Big Fish fans. That's just like a huge amount of them, because that was the biggest monument that Real Big Fish made in their career. And yeah, like the fedora. That's like the fedora vein of ska, which is not like the main part of ska, but it's definitely the loudest and what most people are exposed to. And a lot of people like just don't like want to hear that or be associated with that. And I think like humor is very telling of what type of person you are. Like if you laugh at like jokes that are at the expense of people's trauma, then like I think you in the first place don't take that trauma seriously, because you're making jokes about it, which like directly hurts people. And even if you are a victim of trauma, like if your coping mechanism is to joke with it, and other people express to you, hey, you're joking with this thing that, you know, that really fucked up my life for like years, and then your response is, well, I joke with that, then it's like you're really not empathizing. You're not empathizing with other people who are experiences of said trauma. And so when people joke about that stuff like that, or joke about people's identity or how they, you know, their sexual orientation or gender identity or anything like that, it's, you know, it just turns people off. It turns off literally everybody else who's not into the genre. And that's like a bad first impression, but that's sad. Less frat boy culture. Yes, exactly that. Frat boy culture. There's a lot of frat boy culture in ska, and it's really disgusting. And like, you can really tell how frat boy culture this is, because you can look at my covers and just go to the comment sections of the covers of like DIY bands and emo bands, and like the cover I did of like Mitski and things like that, you know, like things that like aren't all listened to by like frat dudes or like whatever. And then go look at the comments of like my cover of like Sum 41 or Blink 182. You can just see the dynamic of what type of people are commenting are 1000% different. And it's very, very, very telling of the culture of people who are involved with that music. And so a lot of people hate ska because that's the culture that surrounds a lot of the popular bands. And then it sucks because a song like She Has a Girlfriend Now leaves a bad taste in the mouth for, you know, like a song like, what's it called? Let's Face It by the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, which, let's face it, is literally about, you know, hey, like, we live in a world where racism and prejudice is still a thing. That sucks. You know, it takes a song like my band, We're the Union. Like, people will write off my band because they're like, oh, it's just a shitty ska band. It's just a silly ska band. Like, I want to listen to serious music or whatever. It's like, well, you know, we have a song about depression and suicide. So, like, or like the idea of wanting to die. Like, that's not a joke. That's not a joke or whatever, but people don't want to hear that because their impression was that ska is cringy. And that's like my deep dive on like why people have this disdain for ska and a hatred for it. There's a lot of serious ska songs out there. There's a way to be fun, but also tackle a serious, topic. And a lot of ska bands do that extremely well. And it sucks that a handful of bands had gained popularity and kind of ruined that perception for a lot of people. But yeah, to answer your question, that playlist I linked is the ska playlist I've been showing people who say they hate ska, and all of them say that they love that playlist. So, it also all depends on what type of music you listen to. Like, if someone says they listen to jazz, I'll show them Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra. I'll show them the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble, and that'll turn their ear. Cause like, or if someone says they listen to a lot of emo, I'll show them Gray Matter. I'll show them We're the Union. If someone says they listen to a lot of pop music, I will show them. That's a good question. I don't even know. I'll probably show them Catbite. I feel like Catbite would in some way, because I feel like Catbite has really, really good songwriting. If someone says they listen to like, you know, whatever. I feel like there's like different, like if they listen to hip hop or something like that, I'll show them the Skents. Like if they listen to hardcore, I'll show them Blue Meanies. I'll show them the Best of the Worst. I'll show them the Flaming Tsunamis. There's different ska bands that tackle different things, and I feel like that's really the important thing to do. Oh, speaking of Tancred, this is the band playing right now is the band that I made this playlist for the singer of. So, by the way, go check out Tancred if you haven't. That band is dope. Alright, I'm going to end the stream soon. It is a beautiful day outside right now, and I'm going to go on a run, and then I'm going to record, because that's why I did the stream. I have a lot of recording to do tonight, so I'm going to do another round of fourths, and then I'm probably going to end the stream. So if you have any other questions, leave them now. The band is Tancred, Tancred, like that. Jess from Now. Yes, it's the same Jess from Now as the Jess from Tancred that I made this that playlist for. Enjoy the run. This was definitely a fun session. Yeah, if this is something y'all like, I'll definitely do it more. Let me know. It's cool and kind of makes warming up a more enjoyable process, because let me tell you, doing this stuff without someone to talk to is extremely boring. Cannot stress how boring doing warm-ups is, but it's necessary. Oh, I just remembered the question someone asked me a while ago. Do I do this you're probably long gone by now. Do I do this every day for every instrument? Yes, I do it every day. No, not for every instrument. When my face is warmed up, it's warmed up. I can pick up a trumpet. I'll do a little warm-up on trumpet just to get it going, like the instrument warmed up, but I don't need to warm up my face multiple times a day. I don't know how to do a sax warm-up, honestly. Sax is a lot more about warming up your fingers than it is your embouchure. I'm also not a sax player, so I wouldn't know anything to say about that. I just pick the instrument up and like wet the reed, like put it in my mouth and wet the reed, and then put it on and then start playing. Like, there's not much to sax warming up that I am knowledgeable about, because again, I'm not a sax player. I just know how to play stuff on the sax fit for ska covers. What breathing exercises do you recommend? Look up the breathing gym. Let me see if I can link it. If anyone's done drum corps or marching band at all, they're probably in one way or another familiar with the breathing gym. It was designed by these two brass players, I believe, who were very into breathing exercises, and they made a teachable like video series. I think you can buy like a full one of it, but the ones on YouTube that are available are really dope. And I mean, they're all the breathing stuff that I do. So when you start this channel,
Did you ever finishing Streetlights idea when Einstein Songs of Revolution? Actually, no, that was not any intention at all. I just made a ska cover and put it on Facebook, and then it popped off, and then I made another one, and then it popped off again. So I was like, I'll make a YouTube channel. YouTube channel was totally 100% not an intentional thing. It literally actually just happened. And then I kept going with it, and then I started making enough money where my job was cutting my hours, and then after I quit my job because they were cutting my hours, and I was like, I'm not gonna work 1 day a week for 5 hours. I'm just going to leave because I'd rather just go travel and play music, and I was teaching drum corps that summer. So I quit and started dedicating to YouTube full time. So Streetlight should be thanking you. Yeah, I think if Streetlight sold their NES flags again, because I bought that in 2014, and just told me to promote it, then they should pay me, and we would both make a lot of money. You have kept us rabid ska fans satisfied. Hell yeah. Well, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, nor do I plan on turning my back on ska like a lot of people typically do. What corps did you teach for? I taught for Pacific Crest in 2018. I was their like main euphonium tech. So when you listen to that euphonium line, that was me there for 10 weeks that summer teaching it. That and the work of Patrick Guerin, who taught me at Bluecoats, who was also the brass consultant that season, who also kind of taught me how to teach brass. So a lot of my stuff that I'm doing now, thank you Patrick Guerin and the Bluecoats for making me go from being a pretty good brass player to a good brass player. I don't know how to put it. I'm not like a phenomenal brass player, but favorite ska trombone solo. Good question. I'm probably gonna say the trombone solo in I really like the trombone solo in Walkin' by Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra. That's one I really love. Also, there's a band from Florida called the Duppies, and they have a song called Don Drummond, which is, you know, dedicated to Don Drummond. And that trombone solo in that song goes pretty hard. My favorite trombone player in ska is the trombone player from Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra. So his tone is what I try to emulate. God, it's so good. Just go listen to the whole record, Walkin'. You'll know what I mean. I was a sax player that never learned brass, so I missed out on my DCI chance. RIP. Well, hopefully, I mean, I don't know. Oh, congratulations on the Herbie Hancock recognition. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Having Herbie Hancock like the post that my friend, if y'all didn't see on my Instagram, me and my friend made a little video of me playing Chameleon by Herbie Hancock, and he was playing drums along to it, and he posted on his Instagram and tagged Herbie Hancock, and then Herbie Hancock liked it, which is, it's just a like, but like, that's pretty cool. So Herbie Hancock's like the GOAT. Also, go look at Herbie Hancock, and then go look. This is what I'm going to leave y'all to do. This is your homework. Go look at Herbie Hancock. Take a good look at his face. Take a good look at how good he looks. Now, go look up the year he was born. And that's what happens when you're vegetarian, vegan for 60 years. Because he does not look his age. And to find out the year that he was born in, my jaw dropped. And then he said that he credits all to being vegan, vegetarian for 60 years. So, which I kind of gave away how old he is by saying that, but your jaw will still drop when you see him, and then you see how old what year he was born in. It's kind of unreal. He's older than a lot of historical events in this country. Yeah, that man is 80 years old. He was born before World War II started. He was born before the Greatest Generation. Like, he is probably the youngest in the Greatest Generation, which is the generation before the Boomers, which is ridiculous because Boomers are dropping like flies. Kinda. Somewhat. He's 109. He might as well be, honestly. Doesn't look a day over 50, too. Alright, that's where I'm going to end this feed. Later, y'all.